No, actually Azan was going on. I was just waiting that Azan should finish.
Okay.
I will just start now.
No problem.
Hello everybody, let me start for today's class. Yesterday we discussed about the different PO scenarios and started with the scenario 1 for the PO. We created the PO with item quantity unit price, confirm the PO. It's a mandatory step. I mentioned that we created the receipt list, product receipts, and then we invoice the PO. So now for the vendor side, we have PO invoices available. If we will see, if we go to the vendor and we go to the transactions or invoices, we will see that the invoices are now there. Let's say if I move to Alpha Matter, my this vendors, and if I will go to the invoices, you can see that I have two invoices now here for my vendor. I have created two second one also. And also if I go to the balance, you will see that now the vendor balance is also appearing as minus 4,800 debit, sorry, credit. And also if I go to the transactions, I can see all transactions related to my vendor. The two invoices has been created, one with the $1,400 and second one with the $3,400. If you will go to the voucher from here, you can go to the voucher and there are top of different options available to original document. You can see all details also related to the vendor and the voucher from this screen. So I created two PO and invoices, and today I will discuss another scenario for the PO. There can be multiple 10, 15 scenarios based on the organization need, but just to give you some more clarity about the POs, PO invoicing, and vendor payments, we just create different scenarios so you can get more clarity on this. So let's say there can be a requirement for the organization where they create the PO, they create the PO with some quantity like 5 of laptops, and then they want a partial invoicing, and if some of the quantity left, they want to cancel that quantity. So if we have to cancel the remaining quantity from PO, how we can do that? So now I will create a new PO, and then I will receive that PO with partial quantity. I will partially invoice, and then the quantity which will be left, I will cancel that quantity. And same on the sales order also. If you want to cancel the quantity on the sales order, the same procedure, the same options from the menu will be uh, required to do. So let's say came again against the purchase order screen. Click on new. Address contact is appearing. Purchase order is 3. Invoice account is actually our vendor account. Mentioning my site warehouse because in my storage dimension, I make them mandatory. I'm not using any other dimension like product dimension, tracking dimension, or product dimension. So now let's say if I like have an item number, this one Apple MacBook Air, and default price is appearing here, and quantity I will change it to 5. Check in the product, we have the site and warehouse. Yes, I will save the PO. Now, as I mentioned that whenever you will create a PO, the confirmation process is must. PO is in the approved state. If I go to the purchase, I have two options for the confirmation. If I want to directly confirm, I can confirm that. But if you have to print out the PO and send to the vendor, you can also you can generate the confirmation report from here. So another way to create a confirmation and print out the PO also. Now this way the PO will be also printed, and then the PO will be also confirmed. You can see posting yes, print current, print purchase order yes. So if you have to print your purchase order, you can print it from your confirmation report. Normally it's also difficult, people even don't know how to print the purchase order. If you have to print the purchase order, you can come to the confirmation report and you can print out from there. Now PO will be also confirmed, and you can get the printout and you can send that PO confirmation report to your vendor. Yesterday when I created the PO, I just confirmed it. I didn't get the printout of the PO. Now you can see that we can have the printout of the PO, we can print out or we can export it, and based on the customization, maybe company want to send through email, whatever they have, they can also do that. This is an example of SSRS report, which the technical team can customize based on their requirement. You can see that the address Global Electronics Trading US, we use street in YY city. That this is what we have in the legal entity. This is vendor name Alpha Metals Limited, Apple Air, quantity 5. We have prepared them. Rest of the information, PO number, date, delivery address, whatever we have on the PO, it is now available, and it can be customized by your technical team based on your requirement. What other parameters we will use, they will be also. Now the PO is also confirmed. You can see that. So there are two options, as I mentioned, that if you want to confirm, you can directly confirm also, and then even you can generate and print out the PO. Then now what the purpose is for why I created this PO, instead of 5 quantity, I will not receive the full quantity. I will receive the partial quantity. I receive the partial, generate the partial invoice, and whatever the remainder quantity will, I will cancel them. So let me create the product receipt. Product receipt 3. Print it, it's taking time. And instead of 5, I am just receiving 3. So I'm partially receiving. So if you have to receive 2 later on, you can come back and receive 2 again. But right now for our scenario, what I want to do, I want to create a partial product receipt. See, line is still open order. So it means 5 I have done the product receipt for 3. So if you go to your ledger for the receipt, from here you can see that how much you have received now. Yeah, it's a voucher transaction is available here, and here you go to the lines and you can see that 5 is order and 3 is received. So whenever, and the remaining quantity is 2. So if you will do another with 1, same, you can come here in the receipt and you click on the product receipts and you can see that. So let's say you have 20 quantity, you can receive in different, as whenever you need any quantity, you can accordingly receive. And in the journals, you can come to the product receipts and you can see the details how much you have received. So now my scenario, I have received 3 and I will invoice for these 3.
I have a question. So, see how when you're if you receive a partial invoice and you're at the invoice posting stage, does this automatically update when you're trying to post the invoice in invoice pool area?
Sorry, 1 minute. Yes, Kenza, please.
Yeah. So, does this PO automatically update? So, see if you receive a partial invoice at the invoice stage, then you want to change what you've received. Does the PO automatically update as well when you're trying to post an invoice?
Yeah, when we will post the invoice, when I will post the invoice, the PO still have the status of the 3 to be received. 2 will be remaining in the PO unless I will cancel it. Now I will receive I will invoice for the 3. I will come back on the PO and cancel the remaining 2.
But what if it's still in pending? You're still supposed to receive that. You don't want to cancel it.
Yes, if yes, either I have to cancel it or either I have to. The otherwise it will remain an open order, and when you will see your account balances, it will show as a 2, as a pending. The PO will remain open order. So if you have to close your PO at the month end, you must have to do something either to receive it, the remaining quantity, or to cancel them.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
So right now I will update match status. You see the quantity is 3 available here for the invoice instead of 5. And I will post the partial invoice. So if you want, the invoice is there. Vendor can be paid for the 3 through the vendor payment journal. But sometimes company don't want the partial invoices. They can stop it in their customization also. There is also possibility for this. So invoice is done. If I come back to the PO, you will see that PO is still my open order. It's not confirmed. And as I mentioned in my last class, when we will do the receipt, the PO status should be changed to receive. But PO will remain an open order. So if you want to see in the company, maybe they have 30 open order PO. Some maybe have all of the lines may be delivered. Some may have some partial lines may be delivered. So accordingly, it can see how many POs are open order at the month, and if they have to close, either they will receive the remaining quantity. Then this PO will be received and invoice states changed to the invoiced and received state, and the line will be also received. This line is also an open order line. If you see, the line status is also open order. So if I have to cancel 2 remaining quantity, even on the purchase order line or even on the sales order, it's the same process. We have this update line option available, and we have this deliver remainder. In the update line, deliver remainder. And I will click on cancel quantity. Now you see the PO status changed to invoiced and confirmed, and line status is also now invoiced. So if you want to cancel the remaining quantity, you want to, normally what companies do is they have list of 30 POs, 50 POs, 100 POs. They say why there are 50 open order POs. So accordingly, they need to move what are the open order POs. They have different reports available and they move. So from the PO after invoicing, we can come to the update line. and deliver remainder. Another scenario for more clarification, maybe for some of the thing, let's say there is possibility you may have two POs and you want a one invoice, or you want to merge the invoice for two PO. But in this scenario, vendor must be the same. For two different vendors, you cannot merge the invoice. So what I do, I will try to create two POs again. Five quantity of 7,000. I will directly confirm the PO. And then I will do another PO. Let me do the receipt also right now. See, PO is received. I am not invoicing right now. So total invoice amount will be 14,000. 7,000 for this one, 7,000 for other one. So I created two PO. They are, you can see that from this screen, actually, normally you can see that POs are draft, approved, invoiced, open order, where you can see the list of all your PO status. So I have created two POs. They are in the received state. Now I will try to create a single invoice from them. So where I will go to in the invoice menu. I have pending vendor invoices. Here I have normally all the pending invoices, the invoices which are created and which are not posted. Normally on this screen you see them, but right now we don't have any site type of invoice. But if we have to club the invoice, here we can club the invoice from product receipt. You can see that I have these two invoices available. Two product receipts are available. I will click on OK. I have to put the invoice number, which is mandatory. Invoice combine, and it's for PO 4 and 5. That's me. Invoice combine 4 and 5. I will click on match product receipt. And inside the consolidate invoice, now invoice is consolidated. If I go to the totals, you can see that it's a 14,000. 7,001 invoice, 7,002 invoice, and it is now. Now I can post this invoice.
Quick question, that invoice number, is that manually entered or is that
Yeah, this is
system generated as well?
no. This
Always,
invoice number is actually, yeah, this is manual because this is for the vendor side invoice number. The vendor give us invoices and their number need to be entered. That's why it's manual. For our side, we can have auto number also. Because even if we are scanning the invoices, we are doing the vendor invoice automation and we have vendor invoices, we will scan them and the vendor invoice number which the vendor have, they will be used. So now if I go to the vendor screen again to see all the invoices which I have, normally I love this option from the vendor side. So if I go to the invoices, now this one is the combined one invoice. These are the three other invoices. One which we created by canceling the sum of the items. This one we combined two POs invoice, and this which we previously created. So all invoices are available here. If you want to see the voucher transactions, the lines for the invoices, you can come here and you can see that from how these invoices are coming. If you want to see the vendor balance also, you can see from here all the transaction details, everything related to vendor bank accounts. It can be explored from this vendor screen. So that was the third scenario where if we want to merge the invoices, how we can do that. Now we can see another scenario, the last one, where there can be requirement where you have to skip the product receipt and you directly create the PO. You can directly create the PO. And after creating the PO, you directly invoice to the vendor. Sometimes maybe the non-stock items or maybe any reason. It can be any requirement from your customers or your end users who want to implement that. We don't want to create the product receipts and we directly want to do the invoicing in the system. So for this type of scenario, normally what is happening? There is another concept which is called matching policy or two-way or three-way matching. It's very important to understand right now what was happening. Whenever I was creating any invoice, I was doing update match status, and whatever the matching policy was configured, so for invoice validation, right now I have enabled the invoice matching volume matching validation rule I have enabled it. That's why I need to update the match status, and I was using the three match policing way right now. So what is the two-way and three-way match policy? It's important concept. In interviews, a lot of people even ask what is two-way, three-way match, how it's validated. Based on the company requirement, actually, normally we configure whatever we need. The end users will let you know, the team will let you know what they want to configure, or they don't want to use even any matching policy also. Right now I was using the three-way matching policy. So what the two-way matching policy is, that if there is a two-way matching policy, the unit price should be same in the PO confirmation and PO invoice level. So whatever, when we were confirming the PO, whatever the price was available on the PO confirmation unit price and the PO invoice level should be same. If there will be any difference while creating the invoice, you will not be able to do anything, or you will get some error. But if there is a three-way match policy, what will happen? The unit price should be same in the PO confirmation and PO invoice level. Now this time unit price will be matched, and also quantity will be also matched. The quantity on the product receipt and invoice level should be also same. So the unit price will be matched, the invoice for the invoice unit price will be matched, and for invoice quantity will be also matched with the product receipt and invoice. So whatever the matching policy we have configured, accordingly invoice validation will be done in the system. Some company wants two-way matching policy, some may want three-way matching policy, some wants to skip the matching policy, they don't want to use it. Based on your requirement you can use that, and it totally depend upon you. You can test different options how the system is working when you are changing these options in your parameter section here. So right now, just to test if I have to skip the product receipt, one of the ways that I just disable it. I don't want to do any invoice validation. I just have to, maybe it's a requirement, I just have to create the PO and just make the invoices and then make the payments to the vendor, or whatever the scenario can be. Any question from two-way match policy or three-way match policy, or from the last scenario?
No.
So I'm now disabling this match policy, and now I'm trying to create a one PO. So this is just to give you more clarity about why this process scenario I'm doing. So you get the concept also about what the two-way match, three-way match is. What the invoice validation is, how you can use them in different scenario. And also there is a possibility, if you want some tolerance level, you can also configure some tolerance level, that even, let's say you can say if the 5% tolerance is allowed, if there is a difference in the PO unit price and invoice price, then you can set the tolerance level also, same in the AP parameters. This product is also, you can use them, purchase and confirm. Now in the receive, I'm not doing product receipt, anything. I'm just going directly to the invoice, and I'm trying to generate the invoice. the invoice line is blank. Instead of also you see the update match status button is now not available in the menu, because in the parameter section I have disabled the match validation. When I will re-enable it, the update match status will again appear here. So whenever I was doing an invoice posting, I was clicking on update match status. If I was not doing, it was generating some error. So now I don't have anything in the line. It's saying that default from product receipt quantity. No, we are not using the product receipt quantity. We are using the ordered quantity. Now we have the information in the invoice line is also available. And we directly post this invoice now. So that was the last scenario, just to show you different scenarios for the PO environment. In first scenario, we created the PO, we confirmed the PO, we done the receipt list also, product receipt invoice the PO. Then we updated the quantity by we partially receiving the invoice, partially receiving the product receipt. We skipped the product receipt list also. Then in the third scenario, we created two POs and we created one invoice from them. Then we skipped the product receipt and we done the disable the two-way match and three-way match and invoice validation, and we can generated the invoice. So there are different options, different requirement, different requests from the client end can came from the end user sides. Accordingly, you need to configure or customize the system based on the requirement. Now, even if we go to the product also, so for this product, if I go to the inventory and if I go to the transactions, you can see that we have purchased one for this laptop from PO2 and PO6. Same if I go to this one, we used Apple MacBook Air. This we used on in 2PO. If we go to the transaction for this product, you can see that it's purchased through PO1, PO2, PO3, PO4, PO5. If the product comes through some inventory movement journal, transfer journal, you can see everything from this screen regarding the product, all the inventory detail. If you go to the transaction details, you will land to the transaction page. And if you want to see the on-hand inventory, what's the stock available for this product, you have on-hand inventory available. So till now, available for reservation, available physical, we have procured up to 15 Apple MacBook Air. 15 we have procured till now. So if you want to see the quantity, whatever you procured till now, you can come to the product screen and you can see from here on the on-hand inventory and from transaction screen. And if I go to the vendors again, we can see that now we have a lot of invoices available. So now it's time to make payment to the vendor also against these invoices. So how we can make the payment? In the journal ledger modules, we created the journal. Now we have the vendor payment journal available here. I will go here in accounts payable module, and in payments, I have vendor payment journal available. So against these invoices, now we can make the payment to the vendor. There are two options. If we want to settle the transaction against the payment, we can directly create the vendor payment journal and then can do the settlement later on for the vendor. Or maybe we can, while creating the vendor payment journal, we can settle any of the invoices. So I don't have any vendor journal right now, I think, available in the system. I will create a journal. And I will create now vendor payment journal. The journal type is vendor disbursement. And it's better to have your proper voucher number. Voucher vendor payment. We are keeping V with all vouchers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I created the new vendor journal, vendor payment journal, and now I can make payments to my vendor. I will go to the lines. We can directly pay to the vendor, and later on we can do the settlement. One option. The second option is that we create, right now I'm using the vendor settlement process 1. I'm creating the vendor payment journal, and at that time I will settle the vendor also. So let me select the vendor. And let's say if I have to pay against this invoice com 45, I will come to the settle transactions. And I will select that invoice which I have to pay. Click on OK. Now you see that the debit amount 14,000 automatically came up based on this invoice amount which I have to settle or pay. And then when we have a bank account available, we can use the bank account. Normally vendor payments are done through the bank, but right now I will use just a ledger account and make the payment. I will post it. Now if I'm on the vendor screen again, invoices I'm for that related vendor I'm looking on, I will refresh it. Should not be, we should be on the transaction screen, sorry. So for this invoice, right now, whatever is paid, that is showing here, and that is showing again 0. So we created this vendor payment journal 14,000, and this invoice is settled. So now you can see that the balance in transaction currency is showing as 0. So these, all of the other invoices from the transaction in which balance in transaction is still appearing as minus 1400, minus 3400, minus, these all are unpaid invoices. So one of the method what I told you, whatever pending invoices we have, we can just go to the vendor payment journal, we can create the vendor payment, and we can settle the transaction through that way. whatever the pending invoices vendor has. Other option is we can directly pay to the vendor and later on we can settle the transactions. Let's say right now if I have to, so I have the 4200 or maybe 1400, something like that, exact one, 52, 5600. Let's say I create a vendor payment journal. Now I'm directly paying to the vendor. Let's say we paid him $5,600, but we are not settling anything. We have already made him. So if I come to the vendor transaction, you will see that the difference. Now this 5,600 is available for us just to settle against any transactions. The 5,600 is available for this vendor payment journal. If I will click on it and if I go to the view settlements, you can see that this 1,400 is settled against this invoice com 45. But this 5,600 we have directly paid. Normally what the company does, they keep on making payments and these invoices remain open. And at the end of the month or maybe at the end of the closing, their headquarter team, some teams find that there are a lot of invoices which are not settled. So they send them a message, please, whatever the unsettled invoices, just go there and settle them. So now I will settle them. Maybe I can settle this 5,600 partially with against any one invoice, or I can fully settle with any of the two invoice, or even I can use three and whatever is used remaining, it will appear as remaining. If I go to the now settlement and settle transactions here, now this amount is available to us. And if we want to settle against like this one and maybe this 4,200, because we have 5,600, and click and we'll post it. Now you can see that this 1,400 is settled, this 4,200 is settled, this 5,600 is also zeroed out. So we are just balance left for this vendor is 3,400 and 2,000, which is around 3,000 and 5,400. If we will go to the balance for this vendor, we'll see the 5,400 is left. Rest everything is settled down. Go back to the transactions. You can see that this 3,400 and 2,000 is only left. Rest everything is settled. Or if you want to unsettle anything, if you want to view the settlement, you just click on this line and just like this one. And I want to see the settlement. I can click on view settlements. I can see that this payment is settled against which invoices. Or if this I want to see, I can see that this is settled again these two invoices, invoice 1 and invoice 3. And if we have to unsettle anything, we can just go to the settlement and we can click on undo settlements. So if we will select any one of the line and we will reverse it, it automatically select one of the invoice against the vendor payment and reverse it. So one of the invoice is again unsettled and we have 4,200 available, which we can settle again for something. Any question regarding the vendor payment journal, settlement process, unsettlement process?
No, good.
So vendor settlement and unsettlement, we can settle invoices from vendor payment journal options. We created the vendor payment journal and then we click on the settle transactions and we settled it. And we can also settle from vendor listing screen. So till now, what we have done is we created the purchase orders, we created the purchase order invoices, and then we make the payments against that purchase order invoices to the vendor. There is also requirement when we have some journal expenses, and maybe we have to record some non-product items. In that scenario, we can create the invoice journals and can make the payments. So what actually the non-PO invoices are, or the other name for them is cost invoices or vendor invoices. So normally if you have to pay some rent, some administration fees, some travel advances to your employees, these type of all expenses first can be recorded in your non-PO invoices, and then you can book the payment, and then later up you can make them payment through the vendor payments journal. So different type of expenses which you can, the travel advances, staff advances, rents, these all can be where you just have, don't need to involve any product for your payment. So in invoices, I have this invoice journal option available. I don't have any invoice journal now. I will set up a new invoice journal. So vendor invoice recording. Voucher invoice journal. We go to the lines. So again, vendor account is available. We can select any vendor. At the time of the invoice, vendor will be credited, maybe 10,000 USD. And we need to offset some account. Normally in the vendor invoice journal, we have some expense account or asset account. Whatever expense account have, maybe you can use one of them, like rent I have right now. If you want to use dimensions also, I can. Whenever you have to record any expenses which are not related to any products, you can create the invoice journal first. All vendor advances, or maybe staff advances, travel advances, rents, these type of vendor payments can be first in the invoice journal, can be, you can record them. It's a non-PO invoices, cost invoices, and then later through the payment journal you can make the payment. Yeah, I know you love the invoice number. So we book the payments, we book the expenses from this invoice journal. If I go to the vendor payment vendor screen again, and we can see the invoices related to the vendor, and this invoice we created with the voucher of VIJ invoice journal. Now because we created set up the proper number sequence, you can see that VIJ is appearing here. For these all PO invoices, we did not used any proper number sequences, so everything is appearing like with one GT. So you can also check how you can customize your voucher number properly. Otherwise, in the voucher transactions, you will not be able to track out from where it is coming up. These are the PO, these all are the PO invoices, and this is the non-PO invoice or the cost invoice. Any question regarding the vendor payment invoice journal? So from the account payable modules, these were the most important topics after configuration, that how we can create the purchase order, we can do the product receipt, we can create the vendor payment journals, we set up the new vendor payment journal also, how we can create the invoice journals also. So we set up, created a new journal, invoice journal, and it created one entry also, and we see how it's appearing on the vendor screen. There are some other options like pending vendor invoices. What does this screen mean is, let's say if I create one PO, or let's say if we'll go back to that. So I will create an invoice. Oh, it will create a problem. And then it will create or not. Yes, it is created. Forget to update again the invoice validation. So if I come to the pending vendor invoice now, I should have one invoice available. See, so normally what happened actually in the companies, finance people generate so many invoices with the purchase orders, and or maybe this even in the invoice journals, they create the invoices but they don't post them. So if you want to see all of your invoices which are created but not posted, so you can come to this screen, pending vendor invoices. It will show all your pending vendor invoices here, or anything assigned to you with your let's say you have a finance officer, it will show that invoices to you. Open vendor invoices are those invoices which are not yet settled. You see these four invoices. So if I go to the vendor screen again, go to the invoices, the transactions. Here we have everything available, settled and unsettled. So if you want to see only those vendor invoices which are not settled, you can see from here. And if you want to see those invoices, open vendor invoices. Vendor invoices due today, we don't have any invoice, I think maybe due today, or maybe just pending one, maybe no. So we don't have any invoices which need to be paid today. So any invoice which need to be paid to date, which will appear here. Any invoice, vendor invoice is past due. So we have used the terms of payment net 30, net 45, net 60. So accordingly, if that due date has been passed and we want to see all those invoices, we can come into the vendor invoice past due. So these open vendor invoices due today, vendor invoices past due, pending vendor invoices, invoice journal, these are the important options you must be familiar. And also in the workspaces, normally the AP persons normally use this workspace very frequently, vendor invoice entry. All of the POs, invoices, open purchase order. So this is a purchase order which is received, but it is not invoice. These are the all purchase order where we have product receipts only done. Pending vendor invoices, again, the invoices which is not posted yet. Or if you want to find all purchase orders, so this screen is normally for finance or account persons, and they can then accordingly see the vendors on hold, all vendors, these information from this screen. This workspace is available normally vendor invoice entry for the account person. They can come here and they can use this in options. I think from invoice related and vendor payment journal, we created the vendor payment and we've seen how to settle and settle. And then we see how different type of invoices are available. And also from the vendor screen. And right now in the vendor transactions, everything is showing. If you want to filter, you can also filter from here. Only the open invoices will be appear. All the closed invoices will be appear, which are settled. So you can also filter, and also from the parameter section, you can restrict whatever you want to default this behavior from the AP parameter module. That's end for the today's class. Any question from today's call?
No, Raja.
Okay, if you don't have any question, I think we can conclude today's call and we will connect again today on Monday. Have a great weekend too.
You too.
Yeah, thanks, Raja. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
You too have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.